Hi everyone, I'm here to talk to you about my research topic, which is how to alleviate poverty in developing nations and empower women through the provision of micro-lending and microfunding. A little background on this is basically providing funds from institutions, organisations that are non-for-profit generally, and offer these small non-for-profit loans to women in developing states or communities to empower them and to provide employment opportunities to break the cycle of poverty. They're usually given small loans to start small businesses such as market stalls, agricultural production, even selling secondhand clothing or goods. And this income then generates their income, allowing them to be self-sufficient, provide for themselves and their families, and it takes the strain off aid and funding, which could be used for other things or other people. So I had a look at a few literature reviews and projects that were examples of this. Mini Sato looked at the empowerment of women at home and beyond, applying Japanese experiences to poverty alleviation based on a post-World War II poverty alleviation model, which was a case study on a program that was used in China, Mexico, Costa Rica, and other countries in Latin America. And it was a self-help program that was providing funds to undertake small business projects, like I said before, in handicrafts, swapping clothing, agricultural production. This paper supported my research as it is a example of how microfunding assists in poverty alleviation. However, it did not address the issue of empowerment for women. The next one that I used was a study by Innocent and Chidotsi, and it was a Nigerian study conducted in a small town of Abia State. And it was also a microfunding project for rural farmers in lending them money in small agricultural farming to provide empowerment for women. It conducted much research using many methodologies, statistics, and came back with the conclusion that these loans were alleviating poverty and helping developing communities, and ultimately empowering women to be self-sufficient and provide for themselves and their families. The third review was from Hassan and Mugabe, and they were a case study in a town called Garissa in Kenya. This paper additionally further explores poverty reduction through micro-enterprises and looked at another case study of how women in Garissa dominate entrepreneurship in informal trade, as they are seen to be poorer in local economies, which requires them to earn a living and support themselves. The women in this situation take out microloans and trade in local produce and clothing within local markets, and the Kenyan government believes these micro-enterprises has reduced poverty and unemployment rates significantly. Hassan and Mugambi identify the lack of research in the growth of women enterprises in Garissa, in Kenya. Therefore, undertake this study to find out if this funding, education and networking is growing and developing its community. My last review is from Lakshmi, Rajesh O and Srivastava from the Journal of Contemporary Research and Management on the role of microfinance and empowerment in women. And it again supports my research as it is looking to prove how the developing nations and women are empowered through microfunding. The study concluded microloans in some cases were actually causing more damage to developing nations and were predominantly unregulated, resulting in lending funds to people who could not afford to actually pay them back. However, ultimately it concluded that microfunding was greater empowerment for women through psychological, economic and social empowerment, and ultimately improve the standard of living for the community. The grant that I've chosen to go for, it was looking at the Myanmar program through the United Nations Development Program. It's Burma, also known as Burma, sorry. And was looking at affordable microloans. The grant was submitted in 2011 and identifies a need for assistance in eradicating poverty and providing adequate funding to assist people improve their livelihoods. Ultimately, it was looking for more funding, and it was looking through American aid to do that. He believes it's an ultimate tool in eradicating poverty, empowering women, and developing nations. My role in this would be to push the case forward with statistics, case studies, experience, and to get more funding for the project so that developing nations and perhaps women become more empowered through this process. That's all for me for now. Thank you for listening.